Guys, you have to understand something. Work as a 9 to 5 worker and work as an entrepreneur are two entirely different things. When you work a normal job, a normal corporate job or a normal any job, right? You have tasks. You're given tasks, you need to put in the hours and you need to do the tasks, and that's it. It's very simple, it's very laid out. It's just about showing up and doing the work you're expected to do. It's not about advancing forward. It's not about going somewhere. It's just about showing up and doing the work that is expected of you. However, as an entrepreneur, things are very, very different. Very different. And it took me a while to learn that the work as an entrepreneur and the work as a 9 to 5 worker are two entirely different things. It took me a very long time to learn this. But as an entrepreneur, it's not about showing up, going through some tasks, and putting in some hours and stuff like that. It's not about that. It's not about that at all. Like, as an entrepreneur, what you have to do, you have to be intentional with your actions. Every time you act, every time you do something, you have to have the intention of, is it moving me forward? Am I making progress in one way or another by doing this action? Am I learning a new thing? Am I moving forward and closer to money? It has to move you forward in some sense. You can't just blindly act as an entrepreneur. You can't just wake up and have a few tasks written down, tackle the tasks, and then call it a day. You have to be very intentional with your action. Every time you do a task, you have to do it with intention to move you forward. You have to act with speed and you have to always go forward. If you're waking up and all you do is just do the actions for the sake of doing them and getting them out of the way, that's not going to do you anything. It's not going to do anything for you. So a lot of people are trapped in that old school mentality that I need to just do the tasks and then I'm going to get the results. Of course, I'm not telling you that doing tasks and putting the hours is a bad thing, but it's a mentality shift you need to have when you're being an entrepreneur, especially during your first few years. Or maybe it takes you a short amount of time to make it and learn. But on average, it may take you a couple of years to figure things out completely. But no one really figures things out. There's always new things to learn. But what I'm trying to say is a lot of people are stuck in that mentality. When they make the transition from being a 9 to 5er and then going to becoming an entrepreneur and running their own business, they kind of treat work the same way. Let's start my work session from 9 and then end it at 5. Entrepreneurship doesn't function like that. It's very unpredictable. The routines, the schedules can become very inconsistent. Sometimes you may have to work the entire day, waking up at 7 and going to bed at like 11. Other days you may only need to work a couple of hours at most, just to do some managed tasks and get those done. It's very different, and from day to day, it's also very inconsistent. So you need to have that mentality shift when you become an entrepreneur. Becoming an entrepreneur and working as an entrepreneur is not about necessarily putting in the hours and doing the tasks. Well, while that may be super beneficial, I'm not saying don't do these things. I'm not saying don't do the tasks and don't put in the hours, but you have to do it with one thing in mind when you do it, by being intentional. Is what I'm doing right now moving me forward? Am I progressing forward by doing this thing right now? In one way or another. Are you learning a new thing you can apply to your business? Are you learning a new thing you can share to your audience? Are you doing something new that gets you closer to a business deal? Like, what are you doing that's actually moving you forward? And Andrew Tate talks about this a lot. He talks about speed and how important speed is. You always need to do things that move you forward. You can't be on autopilot and just execute the routine, and then when you're done with the tasks, you're happy with it. It's like, I'm happy. You can always do something different. For instance, with my YouTube channel, I can always craft better titles, I can always craft better thumbnails, I can always improve my speech. That is my huge focus right now, improving my speech, improving my vocabulary. There's always something you can do to become better. And that's the whole key with being an entrepreneur. People who are stuck in that 9 to 5 in that ordinary life, they don't really care about self-improvement. They don't care about improving themselves. They care about the weekend and they care about avoiding Mondays. They long for the Fridays, they long for the weekends, but they hate Mondays. That's all they care about. They just care about being on autopilot. They like that life of autopilot. Just showing up on Monday, putting in your 5 days per week, and then you go home, you spend 2 days off where you get to do whatever you want. But even then, they have things they need to do, errands that are eating up a lot of their time, and then it's straight back to it. Weekend has passed like this. It's over straight away. And they don't think about self-improvement. For them, they don't have that mentality because they are not entrepreneurs. They are 9 to 5 workers. I'm not saying you can't be focused on self-improvement as a normal worker, but what I'm saying, for the most part, people who have normal work, who are in this mindset that you have to sell your time for money, they don't think about improving themselves. They just think about getting on with the day. And as you become an entrepreneur, it's very important to make that mental switch that, okay, work is going to be very different right now. I don't necessarily have to work from a certain hour to a specific hour. It doesn't work like that. I don't need to work from, like, let's say 7 to 3 o'clock every day. I don't have to do that because, like, I can work in a very inconsistent way. Some days I can work mornings, other days I can work evenings. Although it's nice to have a strict routine, doing the same things every day, it's easy to get lost in a routine like that and start becoming unintentional during your work. So that's why it's important to understand that entrepreneurship, it's not so much important to do the tasks every day and follow a strict routine and put in the hours. It's more so important of knowing that you've gone and moved forward in some way. It doesn't have to be a big leap every day because that's impossible. You're not going to make insane progress every single day. It doesn't work like that. But you can make some progress. You can learn some new things, get some new ideas, improve some things, tweak some things. If you're doing sales, you can review your sales calls. You can do something better for the next calls next day. That's just a few examples. But the key is constantly moving forward, propelling yourself forward, doing actions that have a high ROI and that will propel you forward. You need to drop the mentality of, I just need to show up, I just need to do a few tasks, tackle my list and get it out of the way, then I can do whatever I want. Because when you do it like that, again, you're not intentional and you're only doing it to get done with the tasks so then you can rest. But that's not what it's about. You shouldn't think about the rest. You shouldn't think about, I'm going to get my task done, then I can do whatever I want. Because then you're just rushing it. You're not doing it intentionally. You may not be doing it with quality. May you sacrifice the quality and you may only focus on getting it done as soon as possible. And you're leaving a lot of results on the table when you do that. The days pass by and you start noticing, I'm just doing everything on autopilot. I'm just executing my routine, but I'm not really seeing much results. Sure, I see teeny tiny results. Some things may be happening. Maybe I gained like 5 followers yesterday or whatever, but maybe some things are happening, but not enough. Not enough to move you forward in the right speed towards your desired destination. So you have to act with speed, you have to take massive action, and you have to be super intentional. Do not do tasks that do not have an ROI. They need to have a yield. Every single task, every single action needs to have an ROI. You need to look at your tasks. What is the most important thing to do? What is actually going to bring you results and move you forward? For instance, a lot of people get lost in watching endless videos to just learn and learn and learn, or they read endless amounts of books to learn as much as possible, and they take very little action. They think they're being productive by reading a lot and watching a bunch of videos. Although, while that may have its place because you need to learn things to be able to apply, and you do need to consume some good content to be able to develop your mindset and learn new things, but people prioritize that too much instead of just taking raw action. Look at action as the most important thing and be intentional with it. Ask yourself, is there an ROI with this action? Will it propel me forward? If not, maybe you should do something else. That's just my 2 cents on it. Think about this, guys. When you're acting as an entrepreneur, because a lot of you watching this may be entrepreneurs, or you may be wanting to become an entrepreneur. You need to make this mindset shift if that's the case. If you want to become an entrepreneur or you're already an entrepreneur, you need to make the mindset shift. It's not just about tackling the tasks. You need to propel yourself forward, because you can lose a lot of time if you don't make this mindset shift. You can lose a fuck ton of time by just showing up every day and doing things on autopilot and doing a bunch of low ROI activities. You may feel like you're being productive when you do that, but trust me, you're losing and wasting more time than you think. As I mentioned, a lot of people just watch videos and read books. That's how they spend their time, and they think that's work. It's not work. It's in addition to work. It can help your work become better, but it's not work. Only action is work. Only doing shit is work. And you should only be doing high ROI activities. So think about this, guys. Apply this to your own grind and leave the 9-to-5 mentality where it belongs, in a 9-to-5. You need to shift your mindset in order to be able to become that successful entrepreneur, the person that makes a lot of money online and propels himself forward and always succeeds in the online space. That's how you need to think about it. I swear to God, if you do that, you're gonna see massive results. So try it out. Let me know how it goes. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.